Well, hello and welcome to math. Today we are going to look at some models for multiplying fractions. You will notice I have some pictures here. Models are something that kind of show us the process or the structure used to solve these problems. Let's go ahead and look at our first example. You will notice here, if I would ask you to give me the fraction for this picture, you would tell me that 2 out of the 3 are colored. So you would write 2/3. You would look at the next example and you would notice that 3 out of the 4 are colored, so you would write 3/4. If I would combine these two pictures together on top of each other, it would look something like this. You will notice wherever the pink and the blue are overlapping, it looks like it's right here. There's pink and blue there. That's 6. And if I count all of these, that would be 12. If I look at the two fractions, if I take the numerator and I multiply them together, 2 times 3 is 6. The denominators, 3 times 4 is 12. Let's look at our next model. This model shows 1 out of the 2 pieces colored. Our second one shows 2 out of the 3 colored. Let's circle where they overlap. It looks like it's right here, which is 2 of them, out of a total of 6 boxes. Once again, my numerators, 1 times 2 is 2. And my denominators, 2 times 3 is 6. All right, let's look at our last two examples. Right here I have 2 colored. It looks like it's 2 out of 5. And here I have 2 colored again, but this time it's out of 3. If I circle what's overlapping, that's pink and blue are right here. That's 4 out of a total of, looks like 15 boxes. The numerators multiplied together make 4. The denominators, 5 times 3, are 15. All right, let's look at our last example, and then we'll make some in our math notebook. Here I have 3 out of the 4. And here I have 1 out of the 4. If I circle where they're overlapping, it looks like it's right there, which is 3 of them. And then if I count all of these boxes, there are 16. The numerator 3 times the numerator 1 gives me 3. And my denominators, 4 times 4, are equal to 16. All right, if you would get out your spiral notebook, that where you keep all your math notes, you're going to need that and a writing utensil and a highlighter. You can pause the video in order for you to get all of those materials. All right, so in our spiral notebook, we're going to go ahead and find the next blank page, and we're going to write the title Multiplying Fractions at the top of our page. And then we're going to go ahead and write our first problem that we're going to model, and that's going to be 1/2 times 1/3. Now, most of us already know we're going to multiply the numerators, 1 times 1, and the denominators, 2 times 3, to get 6. But in order to model this, we're going to go ahead and make our box here for 1/2. So I'm going to make a large square. I want to make it big enough because I'm going to be cutting it into certain shapes. I'm going to cut it in half first, like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and get a highlighter, and I'm going to go ahead and color in half of it with my highlighter. All right, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do something a little bit different than what we did in the pictures. You will notice in the pictures I had here, we made one shape, second shape, and then we combined them. We're going to actually skip this, and we're going to go ahead and combine them into one picture. All right, so let's see how we do that. So I have here my 1/2 for my first fraction. And now I want to cut it into 1/3. So I'm going to cut it now going the opposite direction, which means I'm going to cut this way. So I'm going to cut my box into thirds. I'm going to go ahead and cut like this, as close as I can into thirds. Okay. So this way I cut in 1/2 and I colored the one, and this side I'm going to cut into 1/3, and I'm supposed to color one out of the 3 rows. Here's 1, 2, 3 rows. So I would probably take my pencil and color all the way across like this. So here's my 3 rows. I colored 1 out of the 3. If I'm looking at it going down this way, I have 2 rows and I colored 1 of them. Now we're going to go ahead and circle where we have both our pencil and our highlighter. We notice that's 1 box that we've circled, 1 box out of a total of 6. So here we have a model, and then we actually have multiplied here our numerators and our denominators. Let's make another model. Let's make a little bit bigger model. This time let's do 4/5 times 1/4. All right, so I'm going to make 4/5. I'm going to make a little bit bigger box this time to make sure I have enough room. Let's make it nice and big like this. We're going to do our first fraction. I'm going to go ahead and put it up here to make sure I can remember. I'm going to be cutting it into fifths. So I'm going to do my best job that I can to cut it into fifths. All right, so let's go ahead and kind of estimate here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cut your box into fifths and then get your highlighter, and we're going to color 4. All right, so I've lightly colored in 4/5. The other fraction now we're going to put on this side is going to be 1/4. I'm going to cut this going this direction into fourths. So I have 1 row, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to color one of the rows with my pencil over the highlighter here. So now I've modeled 1 out of the 4. I'm going to circle where I have highlighter and pencil both, which is right there. I have circled 1, 2, 3, 4 out of a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would make 10, 15, and 20. So my answer is 4/20. Now last week we talked about taking these fractions and making sure that they are simplified or reduced. If you recall, we did the latter method. So I took my fractions and I put them like this. And we went ahead and we made our big L here. And we looked for a factor that goes into both 4 and 20. Most of us looked at the fact they're both even, right? 2 goes into 4 how many times? 2 times 2 is 4. And 2 goes into 20 how many times? 2 times 10 is 20. Let's look at these. I can find another factor. They're even again. So I made my big L. We put another 2 here. 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 10 5 times. So my answer would be 1/5. So I'm going to take this 1/5 up here, and I know that 4/20 will actually reduce to 1/5. All All right, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the page because I don't have quite enough room for my next problem. So if you have enough room, go ahead. Otherwise, turn over to your next page. Looks like my highlighter kind of came through my page. And I want you to go ahead and write down the problem 1/6 times 3/4. Now, if we made our model, we would make 1/6 and 3/4, but this one, we're not going to make our model. This one, we are just going to solve the problem. But I want us to label what we're going to do. I want you to write here that we are going to multiply and we're going to write the word numerator in our notes. We're going to multiply the numerators and the denominators. And once again, if you need to pause the video in order to keep up, that is perfectly fine. All right, so if I multiply the numerators, I get 1 times 3, which gives me the answer 3. And then I have the answer 6 times 4, which gives me the answer 24. That's step 1. Okay, we multiply the numerators and the denominators. Now step 2 that we're going to look at is now we're going to simplify. Okay, let me slow down here for a little bit. So we're going to simplify our answer. All right, my answer was 3/24. I'm going to look to see if I can simplify that. So I'm going to do the ladder method just because that's what we worked on last week. So I might pull out my factor sheet and I might look to see if there is a factor that goes into 3 and 24. So it can't be 2. But if you look at your sheet, the number 3 goes into both of them. 3 goes into 3 once, and 3 goes into 24 8 times. So my simplified answer would be 1/8. So what happens if I give you a fraction that looks like this, 1/2, and I ask you to multiply it times the mixed number 2 and 3/4? Can I multiply the numerators and the denominators? I can't do that yet. So I'm going to have to change my mixed number to an improper fraction, which some of us hopefully remember how to do. We kind of circled this to help us remember that we would do 2 times 4, which is 8. We'd add those 3 up here. So 8 plus 3 is 11. So my new fraction here is 11 over 4. And I'm going to go ahead and keep my 1/2. So now I have 1/2 times 11 over 4. I'm going to go ahead and multiply my numerators. 1 times 11 is 11, and 2 times 4 is 8. This looks like this is a top-heavy fraction. This is improper. So I'm going to have to set up a division problem. All things that we worked on last week. So we're going to take 11 and we're going to divide it by 8. 8 goes into 11 one time. I'm going to subtract 1 minus 8. I can't do. I'm going to borrow. I have 3. My answer is 1 and 3/8. So I would write here, it equals 1 and 3/8. Okay, so we're combining a lot of skills from last week into all right, so I have given you here 4 problems that I'd like for you to go ahead and solve in your notebook. If you noticed, I used a dot sometimes because we know that a dot means multiplication. I also have used the symbol X. I've given you just fraction times a fraction. I've also included some mixed numbers. So what I would like for you to do is go ahead and solve these in your notebook, and then we will go over and see how you did. I would like for you to go ahead and pause your video. So go ahead and click the pause button once you've written down my 4 problems. Okay, here's problem number 1. I skipped some lines here. Problem number 2, I skipped a bunch of lines so I could work. And of course, here's 3 and 4. So when you're ready, go ahead and pause your video and go ahead and solve these problems. All right, so if you aren't finished, pause your video so that you can put in this practice. If you are completed, let's go ahead and look to see how we did. All right, let's multiply our numerators. 3 times 2 is 6. And our denominators, 7 times 3 is 21. Let's check to see if this is simplified. Let me make my little L here, 6. All right, if I look at my factor sheet of 6s and 21, it looks like, oh, there is a factor of 3 that goes into them. 3 goes into 6, looks like 2 times. 3 times 2 is 6, and 3 goes into 21 7 times. You should have simplified your fraction to a final answer of 2/7. All right, let's look at number 2. 4 times 3 is 12, and 9 times 10 is 90. Let's go over here and see if we can simplify that fraction. Good thing I have a factor sheet all the way up to 100. So you're going to kind of have to flip back and forth to find a factor that goes into both of them. Well, let's see. I know that 3 goes into both of them, so let's go ahead and do 3. 3 goes into 12 4 times, and 3 goes into 90 30 times. Because 3 times 4 is 12, and 3 times 30 is 90. Let's look at these two now. Can I go any smaller? Oh, sure looks like it. Looks like these are both even, so I can use the number 2. 2 goes into 4 2 times, and 2 goes into 30 15 times. If I look here, 2 and 15 do not share factors except for the factor of 1, so I know that this is simplified. 2 over 15 is the final answer. Now, some of you have may simplified a little bit different, but you should have come up with the answer 2 over 15. Now, obviously, if you have a question about this on what you did wrong, please raise your hand, and I will come around and see if I can help you out. All right, let's look at the last ones here with the mixed numbers. All right, we were going to multiply. We're going to get our answer or our product. The word product, let's go ahead and write that in our notes here so we have it as well. The product is going to be what our answer is going to be. All right, so we can't do this one yet until we change this fraction. This mixed to an improper. 1 times 6 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7, so I have here 7 over 6 is the improper for that. And we'll bring down our 1/3. And I'm going to multiply. 1 times 7 is 7, and 3 times 6 is 18. And let's simplify. So if I come over here and I write 7 and 18, and I look at my factor sheet at the 7 and 18, the only thing that goes into both of them is the number 1. And so because I can't go any smaller than this, this is my final answer. This would be my product. All right, let's look at the last one I asked you to practice with. Change this to an improper. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7, so we have here 7, and remember we keep the numerator. And we're going to bring down our 4/9 like this. 7 times 4 is 28. And then we have 2 times 9, which is 18. Oh, if I notice, this is a top-heavy fraction. So I needed to come over here and do my dividing. So I'm going to put here 28 divided by 18. All right, 18 does not go into 2, but 18 does go into 28 one time. If I subtract, I have 0, and I have a 1. My answer is 1 and 10 over 18. Oh, but look at my fraction here. If I would say that this equals 1 and 10 over 18, let's check my fraction. Let's see if we can simplify that fraction. So I'm going to make an L here. If I look, they're even, so I divide them both by 2. 2 goes into 10 5 times, and 2 goes into 18 9 times. So this is going to be the simplified answer. So if you gave me an A answer, you gave me this. If you gave me an A plus answer, you gave me the final answer would be 1, and this could be simplified to 5/9. Okay, so we put a bunch of things in our notes. I'm going to go ahead and give you your assignment. So if you would go ahead and close out of this video so you can work on your homework.